Hello everyone and welcome back to Season 5 of 2025 here at oNiD. We return on Sundays for our Le Mans Ultimate Weekender series with full field of GT3 cars. For the third round here, we are at Sebring and weather has taken a turn for the series. Rain has fallen as we're rounding off the first half of the season. One interesting first half of the season it has been. Joining us now for the third round and hopefully for the remainder of the series, returning as our usual Sunday host, it is the ever wonderful Tom Toseland. How are you doing, Tom?
I'm good. Happy to be back. I think it's been 4 weeks now since I've last sat here, so it's been a nice little break. But looking forward to getting right back into this. I've actually missed this game quite a bit. I've missed seeing the cars. I've missed seeing the names, and it's good to be back. And yeah, nice to see us going nicely already. Got James Cowley going for their second pole position of the season. Currently has a 1 minute 08.799 in this wet session, as you may have noticed so far in qualifying. But no, yeah, good to be back. And also amazing to be here at a circuit like Sebring. It throws up a lot of interesting racing, especially with the bumps. It can be one of high durability, so I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, as you might be able to notice with the lap times, we're running the short layout, the skull variant of Sebring. So as the drivers come through turn one here, as we watch Athel Basker, who's currently in second place, very close to James Cowley, not just on track, as you can see Cowley just in front of them in the Lamborghini, but on the timesheet as well. This is the little short shoot that we take, double right-hander at turn 2, and leads us to the back end of the circuit. And Athel Basker, purple sector 1, might be looking to take pole position, maybe with a little bit of slipstream help from our current pole sitter.
Yeah, it was great purple sector by Athel Basker. I had a bit of a moment there thinking he was standing off circuit, and then realised, oh wait, no, we're on the yes, we're on the short layout. You did check that, Tom. Anyway, coming down the back straight now, comes to Athel Basker. It's gone to orange there, but it was purple, and is currently green in the middle sector. So now Athel Basker going for pole position. As actually no, there you go. Alfie Bevins, a 1 minute 08 is gone up to pole, and oh, he's spun it. He's lost it at the final corner. Bang into the wall goes Athel Basker. He's thrown it away at the final corner. Was improving, but just got a little bit too happy with the right foot there and spun the car around. So a little bit going for Athel Basker. Not too bad of a loss though. Still sits in third in this session. Can reset, go back to the pit lane, and potentially will have time to go again. But could have been at least one more position there gained, but sadly just a little bit of a mistake. We come to Ben Brown now. It's green. Can Ben Brown make it another green sector as they come up towards the start-finish line? Across the line now, and it is a 1 minute 09.0848. It is an improvement, but it stays in fourth position on that second row of the grid. We've got James Cowley rejoining the circuit as coming out the final corner now. Matt Townsend has a podium so far this season. Will be coming up towards the start-finish line. We'll hope for a good session. It is in sixth, crosses the line, stays in sixth position. Yellow flags out on circuit, but Zach Silva, also running in the Iron Lynx liveried Lamborghini, will come through the final corner now and up towards the start-finish line. Currently sits in 13th position. Will come up towards the start-finish line, crosses the line, and improves to 12th position. So that's a position gained ahead of Charlie Morgan now, as he'll go around for one final flying lap with just under 40 seconds now to go in this session, as he stamps on the brakes and turns the car into the corner. Looks a little bit drier from this point of view, but may just be my eyes deceiving me. And Zach doing a good job so far around this lap and a bit.
Yeah, let's try and see. We'll come back to Zach, see if they continue improving. They'll look at Destin Carpenter, who just sits on the fringe of the top 10. Looks like will not be improving this time round. Tyler Hammer is in the pits. Let's go back to Zach Silver. He is still on to personal best. Just one corner to go. Time has run in the qualifying session, so these are the final laps, and laps that matter. If you look in top left, you'll notice rain just 1%. It has been slowly decreasing throughout the session, and the track is seemingly getting quicker. James Kiley in second is just 16 thousandths off of provisional pole. Zach Silver improves their lap time, but still sits in P12. We don't have many other cars on a lap. Alfie Bevan is showing as on an outlap gain. Geyser is on a lap but is not improving in the first sector. Has found a little bit of time in the final sector, so I think is one of our final drivers to be on a lap. We'll just watch them through the final corner.
Yeah, here they come now. They'll be stomping onto the brakes anytime soon. There you go, at the 300-meter board. It stumps on the brakes and the wide line in, goes over that white line, now turns the car in, tries to get as close as they can to the concrete wall before getting on the power and getting close to those white and blue tires on the side of the circuit. Here comes Geyser up towards the start-finish line, and it's not an improvement in the end. 1 minute 12 as they cross the finish line. So they will start in 23rd position. I think it's a Juice Carpenter is currently on pole position in the AM class as things currently stand. So a good time from themselves to actually slot themselves in between a lot of the pro runners. I think the next AM is Charlie Morgan down in 13th position as that brings our session to an end.
It does indeed. As we've been a little bit scampered for time here, being a little bit late, which I do apologise for. We'll have a quick look at the overall standings. James Kiley at the lead. Chris Downing and Christian Kiesig tied on second. Kiesig, though, not making today. They're not feeling too well. We'll also have just a quick look at the class standings. Of course, James Kiley on top of pro standings. Charlie Morgan, top of the AMS standings, has had a very good season, winning both races within the AMS class so far. Ron Arbutolson and Tom Watson are tied in second. But we have just flicked over for the drivers start lining up on the grid. So let's go through that starting order.
Well, here we are. Alfie Bevan's pole position, first of the season, followed by James Cowley starting in second. Atel Baskar starts in third, with Rune Bertolson starting in fourth in that Mercedes. Now on to row 3. We've got Ben Brown in 5th position, and 6th goes the way of Matt Townsend, someone who's taken the podium so far this season. Row 4 is 7th position, Patrick Den, and 8th position goes the way of Anton Temenga. Then going on to row 5, we have Tyler Hammer, and 10th position our AMS pole sitter, Edusa Carpenter. And then on row 6, we have Martin Thorpe, followed in 12th by Zach Silver, who had an impressive session there. Now on to row 7, it's second in the AMS class, Charlie Morgan, and 14th, Chris Downing. It's a shocking result for them there. They've been sitting in the podium position so far this season. Row 8, Craig Foreman, and in 16th is Brian James Anderson. Then on row 9, we have Tom Watson, and 18th we have Zonomir Burek in the BMW. Then on row 10, we have Simon Harris, and 20th is Javier Gomez Barrera. Then on row 11, we have Lauren Martin, and in 22nd position, we have Alex Morgan. Gian Geyser in 23rd position, and in 24th, we have Ewan Westbrook. Then on row 13, we have Sting Onaka, and 26th, we have Jimmy Mungate. And as we come round the final corner, we will follow our 2 leading cars as they come up towards the start-finish line. Alfie Bevans and James Cowley. I remember the first time I came to oNiD, I'm pretty sure James Cowley was in actually no, he was in a Ferrari running up against Hurricanes. Has changed teams and has now taken on the Lamborghini Huracan and will try and take this championship to Alfie Bevans. But Atel Baskar is going to be one to look out for as well in the Lexus behind. Had pace to go for pole in that last session, but threw it away at the final corner. But we're green and we are going for 50 minutes of racing, and it's a good start for the BMW on the inside of Alfie Bevans. He's going to have the inside line for turn 1, but around the outside he's going to try and go James Cowley. He's got that Lamborghini a car lengths ahead, 3 wide in the background as well between Brown, Bertolson and Townsend by the looks of it. Mercedes, and down the inside goes, I think that's Brown, trying to make a move up the inside of Baskar. He's really messing his way through and for the lead of the race as well there side by side. James Cowley trying to hold that inside line as they make their way through the S's, but on the right hand inside there goes Alfie Bevans through into the lead of this race. James Cowley really tried to snatch it away, but Alfie has converted his pole position into first position at the start of this one. We have some yellow flags out on circuit, but Cowley's there, not too far back as well is Brown in the AMG, then in the first of the Lexuses is Bascar, and then running out the top 5 is Patolson. Looking up the inside is James Cowley again, really applying the pressure to Alfie at this stage in the race, but Alfie doing a good job soaking it all up, just kind of trusting his driving, and he's done a good job. He's led the whole of the first lap. There he goes, through he goes, and he will make his way around for another time. And it looks like Cowley's falling back a little bit. He's going to have a look up the inside. He's trying to stay in the mirrors of the BMW driver, but he's definitely not looking in them at the moment, as actually it seems like Cowley's under more pressure from Brown and Bascar than he's able to apply to the BMW as things currently stand.
I've got to spin further back, trying to get to it. It's Tyler Hammer spun here at the turn 2 into the offshoot. We'll try and get a replay of what has happened there. They started P9 in the top 10, so this is very disappointing. You can see they were running P9 here coming through T1. Then into the right-hander, under braking. The McLaren behind just missing their braking point, running into the back of Tyler. Unfortunately, just spun facing the wrong way. Has to wait for the entire field to pass, and as such has dropped all the way down to 23rd. And just to make things even worse, taking a trip through pit lane, likely to repair some damage.
Yeah, so insult to injury there for Tyler Hammer, and that's going to put them really well down the back of the race order, and they are going to have to try to make their way back up through this field. Matt Townsend trying to look up the inside of Rune Bertolsen. Now turn to the outside as they cut the circuit now, of course, on the school layout of this Sebring circuit. But it looks like Matt Townsend's under a little bit of pressure from Den behind as well. So he's going to have to try and get this move done on the BMW of Bertolsen to try and put a car between himself and the Mustang as things stand. There's still a lot of yellow flags coming out in this race as we come back onto the back straight of the circuit now, down towards Sunset Bend, and it looks like actually the BMW is under more pressure from the Ford Mustang of Patrick Den, and oh, that's not good news there for the BMW, or not the BMW, the Mustang of Anton Temenga, the Rocket sponsored car. That's missing a rear wing.
And frustratingly, they just passed pit entry. That's pit lane exit they're going by now. Let's try and see what's happened to the Mustang through this final section. That's pit exit that was just on left-hand side there. Through the final corner, over the inside curb, loses the rear end and spins the car around, hits the rear on the tyre wire, and that pops the rear wing off. Going to be a difficult lap for Temenga, and they're dropping down the order. Currently down to 20th place now as they come through Sunset. Normally the pit entry there on the right-hand side, but not for the World Endurance Championship. They'll have to go round. Luckily for them, we are running the short layout. It would be even more painful if we had to fill out. But yeah, it's still going to be very damaging to their race overall, especially for someone who has pace. Got a top 5 finish last time at Bahrain, but it's going to be spinning through T1 as they struggle on without that rear wing.
Yeah, and worth mentioning as well, we saw Tyler Hammer sitting in the pit lane as that incident happened, so shows that Hammer's gone a lap down after their pit repairments. There's down the inside and all contact with Rune Bertolsen by Matt Townsend. That's going to send the Mercedes around into the wall and rear wing gone. I do believe, yes, it has. It's the front half of it has ejected, well, the top half, I mean, of the rear wing has ejected itself off, and that's going to be a similar situation for Rune Bertolsen. And obviously, it's still early part of the race. All these cars are coming through, and this is just position after position going. Leaving Rune Bertolsen as we go to a replay now. You can see Matt Townsend tries to go up the inside, is there for a while, takes a really tight line, but struggles to get the front end in, just doesn't have any front end grip and knocks into the side of the Rune Bertolsen AMG, and you can see there goes the rear wing and all the cars coming through. It's a painful loss of time, and that's even more painful into the wall. I think that's at turn 1. And yeah, it's not going the way of Rune Bertolsen now. Was sitting in 5th position and now finds himself all the way down in 20th. So that, again, that looks like another race ruined, and we're already 6 minutes in. Well, just under 6 minutes in.
yeah, was qualified all the way up in P4, so it was brilliant qualifying position, holding on to P5, and now disaster. They'll get back again. Final corner of the lap. Normally a good place, with the pit entry for the IMSA race. Unfortunately, this isn't IMSA. We'll jump back up to Martin Thorpe, who is trying to make their way past Zach Silver, who has had a good start. Up 4 places so far is Zach Silver. And also is Chris Downing. Shout out to them. Up 7 places, though, it must be said, a disappointing qualifying position for them. We're done in 14th for Downing. We've seen them in the top 5 recently, trying to run the outside as Martin Thorpe on Zach Silver gets shown the grass. Wasn't quite far enough alongside to be warranted room. But we're going to jump a little further in front. Matt Townsend hasn't stopped fighting. Is now making their way past Athol Basker, who, remember, had a great qualifying session, qualified to P3, now dropping down the order, down to P5, is trying to come back at Matt Townsend here, gets alongside, a little bit of contact on the exit, but we'll tuck back into the slipstream towards Sunset Corner. We've seen the dive that Matt Townsend made 1 lap ago on Runar Bertolfsson. Will Athol Basker return the favour? They send it down the inside, struggling to get the car slowed down, leave the door open. Matt Townsend's got to poke the nose in with a cutback, though, on that tight line, not able to carry the momentum, has to be a little bit apprehensive on the throttle. Lexus with the momentum carries it around the outside and will then defend the inside towards final corners. The BMW tries to come back, tries to take P4 back to the racing line for the Lexus into turn 1, but the BMW holding a slightly tighter line through turn 1. Looks to be a little bit more comfortable, a little bit quicker. But this fighting with the Lexus is allowing Patrick Den to close up, so much so that Patrick Den runs into the back of Matt Townsend there and spins the BMW off into the runoff.
Yeah, unfortunate for Matt Townsend. There was all over the rear of Athol Basker, and really, especially around Sunset Bend, some smart driving. Knew that Basker was going to run wide, but this is where it comes undone. Just the Mustang, just maybe a loss of focus, slight lapse in judgment, and it's gone straight into the rear of the BMW at some pace. Luckily, it didn't look like, both of them kept, at least the BMW kept its rear wing in the accident compared to some of the other ones we've seen so far in this race, and maybe a little bit of damage to the front end of that Mustang, but neither look too major visually at the moment. But we'll have to wait and see if Townsend does come into the pit still. Anyway, Martin Thorpe is still in this fight with Zach Silver as they make their way out of the final corner onto the start-finish straight, and you can see he's tucking right in behind Zach Silver is the Mercedes, and it will now go to the outside. We'll jump onto the brakes, and this is where the Lamborghini is probably going to run a little bit wide potentially, and the Mercedes is going to try and cut back. No, never mind. It's just a very wide line taken there. Could go kart in wet conditions line by Martin Thorpe to try and send it around the outside, but hasn't got it done. But it's going to look like the inside as they go through the cut through, but has not been able to stick that long Mercedes front end anywhere near the rear of that Lamborghini. They'll make their way through the SS now, through the right, and then into the left-hander, then into Le Mans curve, as they will make their way then down the Oman straight. And, the Mercedes right tucked in all the way on the power, obviously now 3rd gear, 4th gear now, and will they make it up into 5th? Yeah, into 5th gear now as they make their way up towards the braking zone. Will Martin Thorpe look anywhere at the last second? No, he's just going to apply the pressure to Zach Silver. Silver runs wide, and that's allowed Martin Thorpe to sneak up the inside. He's going to hold the inside line. It's going to be the shorter line, and he's leaning on the Lamborghini as they come onto the start finish straight. A little bit of a switch from the Lambo. He's going to lose Zach Silver all that momentum as they head onto the start finish straight, but crucially he's been able to keep that front end alongside, meaning he may have the inside for turn 1. No, the best of the late break. Thorpe sweeps in to the left-hander and takes that inside line and takes 8th position away from Zach Silver. A very classy move there by Martin Thorpe. Knew that they were going to get it done and has definitely done that. And now it doesn't look like Matt Townsend's too far up the road. 2.5 up the road is Townsend, and is currently fighting with Downing for positions. The McLaren versus the BMW in this race is all very wide. The McLaren as well, kicking up some dirt, and actually moves all the way over and is starting to slow. What? Oh no, that's a different McLaren. I've lost my eyeing. But never mind. Here is Chris Downing, is currently at this point, I assume, has made some sort of mistake. Runs very deep, may have locked up the fronts there, and yeah, that's just allowed Matt Townsend to get a little bit of a nose in and sneak up the inside as they make their way back onto the main circuit. And they stayed side by side for quite a while, but eventually going into the right-hander of the S's, the BMW had the inside and had the position.
Yeah, so Matt Townsend trying to recover after that incident with Patrick Den. Chris Downing seemingly struggling a little bit, certainly for front end. Quite a bit of understeer in that McLaren. But we're going to drop back down a little bit to Gomez Beira, trying to fend off Craig Foreman at the moment. We'll just have a little quick look at the comparison of their last lap times. A tenth quicker for Craig Foreman, little bit wider from the BMW in front, the more fluorescent yellow BMW running the Team WRT Brazil livery is Craig Foreman, a fluorescent yellow custom livery from Gomez Beira, but quite close. We'll be struggling in the spray. One thing I've just noticed, the rain hit a peak of about 15% not too long ago. It's come down to 7% now. We're expecting the track to, the rain to stop and the track to dry up later on in the race, which of course may necessitate switching to slick tyres later on in the race. Might make this race a 2-stop race rather than just being a 1-stop. But we'll have to see how the weather pans out. They'll be fine. Even further back, Alex Pardon and Ewan Westbrook fighting over 18th position. And looks like Alex Pardon has got the move done, though Ewan Westbrook maybe having a look to the inside. A little too far back on this occasion, but Alex Parkin left the door sort of maybe a little invitingly open for them. Charlie Morgan did get past Simon Harris briefly, but has fallen behind. Once again, we'll have to remake the move on the Lamborghini driver, and it looks like Craig Foreman has got the move done on Gomez Beira. As we switch around, look to the inside, dive to the inside into the penultimate corner for Charlie Morgan. Simon Harris leaves the door open. The Lexus low, very poor traction, sliding around, and Lamborghini driver gets back through. And I believe that isn't a car for position, the Mercedes coming through. Not sure what Mercedes. I think that might be that's Runar Bertolson recovering after their incident earlier on in this race.
And that was earlier on the move between Harris and Morgan. That was for second position in the amateur class. Carpenter still leads the way out of the amateur runners. Actually, no, I think it's Carpenter, then Thompson in the amateur class, and then actually they were a bit lower than I thought, and I think it might be Foreman who's currently running third in the way of the amateur standings. So yeah, it is Greg Foreman currently in third. So 10th to 12th is the top three of the amateur class, as Aduza still leads his way in the Ford Mustang, followed by Tom Watson. About 1.2 second gap between the pair of them. So this battle still well and truly on between both the drivers. But we'll come to Chris Downing and Martin Thorpe as they will make their way again onto another lap around this circuit. As we'll come into the braking zone for turn one, and on the switchback there was trying to go Chris Downing, but there wasn't really a Mercedes-sized gap he could sneak up the inside there, so had to back out of it. They're both going to have to be pretty wary as well of that Lamborghini. And oh, that's the AMS leader in the wall, is it? No, it's Patrick Den. I beg my own pardon. It's Patrick Den who's gone straight on. That corner is proving to be quite tricky for a lot of our drivers. That turn to Bishop Bend section, people keep seeming to make out just not judgingly. Next time we'll see from them.
Yeah, of course, that's the corner that Patrick Denton ran into the back of Matt Townsend earlier, and now they've had an issue of their own. This is them out of T1 using all of the exit curb there into turn 2. Just not quite getting it stopped. Yeah, not getting it stopped at all. Maybe missing their braking point, sliding off into the wall, and can see Chris Downing there following them onto the grass. Luckily pulls the car up before they get any further towards the wall. But yeah, costly mistake for Patrick Den. It's dropped them down to P9 from 5th position. Meanwhile, a little further up, just on the cusp of the podium, Athel Basker trying to close down Ben Brown, having qualified within the top 3 for Lexus driver. Bit of a poor start, they've fallen back. Ben Brown making a good start, getting themselves back onto the podium, which they've threatened to be on every race so far. But for one reason or another, Ben Brown has missed out on the podium both races so far. They're trying to set that right this time before we get into the second half of the season. But Athel Basker isn't going to make it easy for them.
No. I think Ben used to... I'm used to Ben Lexus there, but let's come back to that battle in a second though, because Chris down losable. I didn't get grip back on that wide.
Apologies, but we seem to be losing Tom in the comms booth. Hopefully we can get him back soon, but we'll continue watching on this battle, which has closed up. Martin Thorpe in front of Chris Downing, having made the move. Chris Downing continuing to struggle. We've seen a little bit earlier before they were overtaken. They were 1.4 seconds slower. They are easily the slowest car within the top 12. So the McLaren driver really struggling at the moment, with Zach Silver and Patrick Den closing up. We also have a battle in the AMS class round form. Edusa Carpenter leading the AMS, starting to be closed in by Tom Watson. We'll just have a little check. Nearly half a second quicker last lap around was the Lamborghini driver on the Mustang. And you may also have noticed in the top left, the rain has stopped with 32 minutes of the race remaining, but the track is still pretty wet. Generally around about 40% across the track. It will dry up with the rain having stopped. How quickly will it dry up, though, is one question. But a little look to the virtual energy. There is a bit of a difference. The best person on virtual energy in the field, of those that obviously haven't pitted, is the AMS leader, Edusa Carpenter, who's been running sort of decent pace, but has been able to run it while saving energy. Maybe with the rain stopping now, they're trying to save a little bit more energy, trying to eke out an extra lap or two to, get a better lap for switching tires, and obviously, of course, saving time in the pits for how much virtual energy they need to put into the car. That will save them time in the pit stop, even if they're losing a bit of time on track. At the moment, can see Tom Watson trying to look to the inside, trying to get there. Might have the exit, not quite. The Mustang will slot back in front, and they come down to T1. Lamborghini showing its nose, just trying to distract the Mustang driver, force them into a bit of a mistake, pile the pressure on. As you can see, both of them very tight lines on the exit of T1, not pushing the curb the limit too much. But Tom Watson maybe feeling like they're being held up at this stage, but they'll be able to see the virtual energy. They will be able to see Edusa Carpenter with a 5.5% advantage at the moment. In fact, last lap around, Edusa Carpenter only used 3.5%. Everyone else used 3.9% or more. In Tom Watson's case, 4.3%. That is how much the Mustang driver is saving at the moment. And Tom Watson, with a good run out of the penultimate corner, using the slipstream to close up on the Mustang, will get alongside. It'll be interesting to see how much does Edusa Carpenter fight this on the outside. It looks like they can't fight it that much. The Lamborghini getting through, but running a little bit wide on the exit might give an opportunity here for the Mustang driver to come back, but with the tighter line on the exit, isn't able to carry the momentum, and it looks like Tom Watson up into P10 now. Will try and consolidate a bit of a gap, as they know as things stand, they need to pull out a bit of a gap to make sure they don't fall back behind, lose track position in the upcoming pit stops. Just gonna have a little check to see if Tom has maybe
yeah, I think.
Yeah, you sound like you're back from
cool.
Unfortunate internet issues. That's a good battle there for P10.
Yeah, no, very good. And for the AMS lead as well. So, yeah, no, fantastic battle between the pair of them. And, yeah, Tom Watson getting the move done around the outside. The inside line, as you say, just didn't give the momentum to the Mustang. And it seems like Watson's already opening up the gap about half a second now ahead from the Ford Mustang as they go back down to Sunset Corner, where they made that move on the last lap to take the lead in the class. And big sideways moment for Aston Baskar as we come to them. I don't know how they were able to manage to save that. And I don't know how they were so sideways at that point as well. But that's still Ben Brown and himself fighting for third position. And we'll go to a replay. So this is what's happened. So here we go. Under the Michelin man who's giving us a wave. Now coming down the start-finish straight, and we'll come into this long left-hander, and I assume this is where it's happened. Has Ben Brown caused Attel to check up at all, or is it just a massive sideways moment out of this corner? I think it may be, oh no, yeah, it's just massive sideways moment. The rear is spin up, and somehow Attel Baskar has kept the car facing in the right direction and still running in fourth position. But good news is for Ben Brown, it gives a little bit of a pressure relief there, as now it's about a second gap between the two, right, well, fluctuating there between a second and half a second between both of them. So that's good news for Ben Brown, can just have a little bit of less pressure behind for now. But we'll come back to Patrick Den and Zach Silver. I have to check the names because, well, Lamborghini and a Ford Mustang battling, it could have easily been Watson and Carpenter. But now as they come through the final corner, it seems like Silver's doing a good enough job to stay ahead as things currently stand. It seems Patrick Den is a little bit too far back to, well, at least try something this lap. Would need a decent run through here to try and get something done into turn 3. But as we'll come back to the battle for third, because somehow Asel Baskar, coming into this S's part of the circuit, I think the traffic has definitely helped, is right onto the rear of Ben Brown as we make our way down the Ullman Straight.
Yeah, despite losing, falling over a second back after that wobble out of T1, Athel Basker right on the rear bumper of the Mercedes, held up a little bit by the BMW there, who runs wide into Sunset. Lets both Ben Brown and Athel Basker through, but Lexus driver trying to find a little bit of a wobble there for the Mercedes on the exit of Sunset, and that allows the Lexus to nearly draw alongside. The Mercedes just able to carry enough momentum, but in the slipstream now for Athel Basker will be closing. Looks to the inside, will they commit to a move in T1? It's very dangerous with how short of a braking zone T1 is, even in these wet conditions. In the end, has to back out, runs a little bit wide on the exit, but doesn't have a big snap as they did one lap ago. Now through the little short shoot that the Skull Circuit utilises and continues to pile the pressure on, is not going to let Ben Brown have any easy way to this podium fight. A little look at the virtual energy between the two of these drivers. Very similar. Ben Brown has by 0.5% advantage. Both of them should be able to go an extra 3 laps. Interestingly enough, our two leaders have significantly less, have about 5% less than the two drivers here sitting in third and fourth. So that'll cost our front two runners a little bit of time when it comes to the pit stops, and gives them a bit of a more difficult decision as to if they want to change tyres in the pit stop. The track is dry. You can see now it's down to an average wetness of 12%. It's still a little too wet for slick tyres, but it's getting a little dry for wet tyres. You can see Athel Basker moving over onto the water, trying to keep the wet tyres cool, keep them alive through this sort of latter part of the opening stint. But it's going to be so interesting to see what the drivers do in this pit stop. We're just past the halfway mark of this race. All the drivers that haven't pitted, well, yeah, they could easily go to the end of the race with one single pit stop. The question is, what do they do with the tyres on this drying but still pretty damp track?
Oh. No.
We also have this fight over at P7. Zach Silver closing in on Chris Downing, who's, as we've said a couple of times, is sort of struggling, has picked up the pace a little bit relative to the others as well, maybe enjoying the dry conditions a little bit, but is also one of those who is very low on energy and will need to pit next time around. Same as our two leaders. They have the difficult decision. Is the track ready for slick tyres yet, or is it too early? But if it's too early, is it better to just put slicks on anyway and keep yourself on the one stop, or do you make a sort of splash and dash for wet tyres, continue on another 5 laps and then put slick tyres on? It's a difficult decision, and I'll be very interested to see what our leaders do. In fact, yeah, into the pit lane now, Alfie Bevan and James Kiley. We'll have to see how long these pit stops are.
Yeah, and I mean, sorry, I know I come to this championship late, but this must be such a different kind of mind game compared to the rest of the Sunday leagues we normally do. Normally, obviously, the races we have on Sunday are really kind of like our endurance ones of the week. You really are racing for a long time, like nearly hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes, and it's 100 minutes sometimes as well. There's just such a long time of trying to focus, trying to strategize. Whereas with this, it's almost like a sprint race, like with the 50 minutes compared to what we usually run, and it must just you just must be pushing so hard the whole time, but then also having to factor the strategy in as well, because obviously the 2 times fuel consumption, 2 times tire wear as well. It's just there must be so much going on in your head while racing for such a shorter period of time as well, trying to push the whole time as well. It's just there's just so much to think about, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, well, we've obviously had a couple of seasons of the 100 series. This series, 50 minutes, half as long, but to make up for that, we do have 2 times fuel usage, 2 times tyre wear, which effectively brings it in line. It's the same strategy this season as it would be for the 100 series, but over half as many laps. But when the weather plays into it, especially with this very awkward timing, the track is drying, but is it drying quick enough? I have just had 2 markers come up on my timing screen. One is for Matt Townsend, the other is for Chris Downing just behind. Both of them have picked up penalties over the over this period, and we can see the yellow sidewalls there for Matt Townsend. They are risking slick tyres, and look how much they're sliding around. The car moving around through sunset. They're struggling on those, remember, cold tyres. No tyre warmers here in this series. They come out at ambient temperature of about 22 degrees Celsius. Their operating temperature is around 80 degrees. They will be struggling. Look how much that car is moving around out of T1.
Oh, you can just see how much he's struggling to put the power down and to get traction to turn into the corner as well. Really having to go around a corner almost like a snail, and almost turning into a rallycross car at this point, more on the grass than on the tarmac. But you could just see, especially out the pit lane and through the fast left-hander turn 1, you can just see how much struggling, and through here as well. Usually such a quick part of the circuit, and actually Matt Townsend ultimately deciding, no, that is the wrong option. I have made the wrong option, and has decided to come in. Isn't even willing to try and endure the pain to try and make up that time when the circuit does get a little bit drier. Has decided to just come straight in as Alfie Bevan now currently in 6th position, and I suppose is gone for the wet tyres. So I think I can see everyone else is on the wet tyres. I can see a medium for Silver and Carpenter.
That's medium tyres for Alfie Bevan. They have gone for the
risk. Oh, yes, sorry.
but they're looking a little bit more comfortable. They were one of the earlier people to pit, or the first person to pit, but running deep into turn 2 on the grass, that is certainly not going to help. They've had an extra lap or two to get their tyres up to temperature, but they are still struggling. They are now 25 seconds behind James Cowley. If I'm looking at my timing screen right, sorry, maybe about 15. If we go to James Cowley here, I think he might have changed tyres as well. Both of them has very similar pit times. We've seen 1 minute 29 seconds for Alfie Bevan, 1 minute 26 for James Cowley here. So I think James Cowley has put on a new set of wet tyres to try and help them through. I wonder if they're maybe going to push on with the wet tyre to the end of the race, thinking the track isn't going to dry up quick enough. That could be a play. Trying to see, I think everyone apart from Charlie Morgan, who is now in the pits, last of the people to pit. I'm curious to see what tyres they come out on. Another driver who's gone on to mediums, and one of the later people to pit is Adisa Carpenter, was leading the AM class until Tom Watson got past him while they were fuel saving. Tom Watson is now currently up in P8. Much quicker pit stop, 10 seconds. So Tom Watson hasn't put new tyres on. Adisa Carpenter has put new slick tyres on. Zach Silver currently being passed by Craig Foreman. Of course, Zach on the medium tyres, Craig on the wets. Another driver who's gone to the slicks is Ben Brown, who's now having to defend from a charging Alfie Bevan. Can see Ben Brown pit time was a little bit shorter than Alfie Bevan's, just a matter of saving fuel in the first stint, but Ben Brown not fighting that one too hard, still trying to get those medium tyres up to temperature. Alfie Bevan, having pitted earlier, already has a bit of temperature in and is well up the road. You can see a little twitch there, 3 sunset for Ben Brown.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting thing. It's with the dry tyres, you have to go through the pain of the wet circuit now, but will it be drier in about 17 minutes time, or the wet? But then it's complete on the other hand for the people on the wet tyres, because they have the pace now on this wetter part of the session, but as it starts to get drier again, they're going to have the pain as their tyres start to get a little bit too heated, as the circuit starts to lose that moisture as well. So really, it's a double-edged sword for both strategies, and it really depends how quickly this circuit does dry, that on how this race is going to go. And you can really see that from the strategies people have chosen. Really, it's people going for tyres, people going for new wets, people going for new dries. There's not really an obvious answer to what is the best strategy at the moment, but actually the interesting thing is here, it looks like Ben Brown is going to lose out to Asal Baskar. Baskar's going to run side by side with Brown as they head down the back straight now, and as they make their way into the right-hander, through goes... Oh, no, Charlie Morgan. Sorry, I've got my mixed up with my liveries. That's not the Acodis livery. That's the oNiD livery. So Charlie Morgan in the amateur class up the inside of Ben Brown now. So that's a wet tyre runner going past the position on Ben Brown. I do apologise again. And you can see, though, Charlie on the wet tyres trying to call them, getting onto that wet part of the circuit. And all that's a Zach Silver, I think, off one of the Lamborghinis, massively off and out of the way of the other runners through that corner, as it seems Charlie Morgan now trying to catch up with Patrick Den. Both of these guys on the wet weather tyres. Still the highest of the slick runners is Bevan, now sits in 4th position, so he's currently fallen off of the podium, but I think as things are playing out, Tom Watson is 7th ahead of Ben Brown now, so it really doesn't look like the slicks, well, at least at this point, aren't working. But actually now Ben Brown straight back up. I'm getting confused with everyone now. One of the Mercedes on Mercedes action there, straight back up the inside went Ben Brown and past Tom. No, not Tom. I'm just going to stop talking.
The field is very shuffled, all mixed together. You can see all the way up to 12th place have been lapped by our current leader, James Cowley, one of the people on the wet tyre. So they're continuing on with the lead. Athol Basker not too far behind But yeah, those on the wet tires currently giving up time, and that includes Alfie Bevan, who is now being hunted down by Patrick Den, with Charlie Morgan not too far behind. Can just see them in the background. But it'll be interesting to see. The track now down to about 5% wetness. That's an average wetness. So the racing line is nearly bone dry now. You can see it on the track. But off the racing line, you can see still pretty damp. Up to 40% wetness off the racing line. I'm seeing on my timing screen. So still, you gotta be careful on those medium tires. But hopefully the drivers, now that the track continues to dry, hopefully we'll get some temperature in them. It'll be interesting to see how the wet tires favour at the end of the race, especially since, as we see Patrick Den getting to the inside there, especially between, it's not just are you on medium tires or are you on wet tires. We also have people that stayed out on the same wets since the start of the race, gaining 12 seconds in the pit stop. And those that took on new wet tyres that obviously give up the time will have the PSO from the newer tyres throughout the rest of this stint, and we'll try and get back the track position. Patrick Den has made that move on Alfie Bevan, and now Charlie Morgan is going to try and follow them through.
And thank you for following Hugi Van for the follow. It's Charlie Morgan and Alfie Bevan. It looks like Morgan's closing in, 8 tenths between them. Morgan running on the wets, Alfie on the slicks as they make their way onto the Ullman straight now. Lexus, well, at least in ACC, quick in a straight line, I understand. So I'm not sure if that repeats over to Le Mans Ultimate, but you can see again, Charlie Morgan very aware of running the wet tyres again, right back onto that wet side of the circuit, trying to cool them down, stopping them from overheating, so they can last longer into the remaining 13 minutes of this race. This is really what we are on the edge of the sword for both of the strategies here, where it's going to be interesting to see which one does pay off. You can see just how dry that racing line is now, especially on the concrete of this Sebring circuit. You can see how much light white of the dry circuit you can see compared to the dark black bits on certain parts as we come into the braking zone, cutting the course now as we're on the school layout. And Morgan definitely closing in, down to 3 tenths, still showing that it seems the wets are the superior tyre as we go through the S's now into this right-hander. But the Mustang ahead, not too far away either. Den only 1.1 seconds ahead of Bevan as it currently stands. So again, really, there's not really any obvious advantage for either. But and again, Charlie Morgan only 2 tenths quicker actually than he was last time on this part of the circuit. The gap was 8 tenths this time on this part of the circuit. It's come down to 6 tenths. So again, it's really not obvious which one's going to be working out. And as he makes their way through the final corner, looking like he's losing some front end grip. The car really didn't seem like it was gripping up as much as it should have been. And actually, is this going to be the turning point? Is this going to be where potentially Alfie starts to find some pace? It's still very slippy though on the outside line. You can see losing that front grip at the front end. It's going to lose some and run off the circuit now. As you can see, just drops those 2 right side tyres onto the wet patch of the circuit, and that was Alfie's grip gone on those slick tyres, and it forced him onto that dusty sand on the outside of the circuit. So still very tricky, but that dry line you can see getting much easier to follow for Alfie. No, it's not. I take it all back. He's lost the rear of the car. He's cut half of the chicane, rejoins the Le Mans curve, still ahead of Charlie Morgan. So you can see really on a knife edge, has to try and just stay within the lines. It's like the floor is lava. If you go to the right hand side, you are going to lose all your grip, and he has to try and keep it on this drier line of the circuit. You can see the Mustang still just ahead. There's a car off ahead of them. I think that's Ben Brown, or it's at least one of the oh no, it's the oNiD car. So that's
Tyler Hammer.
Tyler Hammer, thank you very much. That's Hammer, well, obviously not on this racing lap, getting out of the way of some of these drivers, but the gap now 7 tenths as they cross the start finish line. So really, Alfie, as long as he keeps it in the dry part of the circuit, it's all right. But that's where the challenge is. He has to keep it in the dry part of the circuit.
Yeah, the dry tyres are starting to come in. They're about equal with the wet tyres, looking up and down the timing screen. Charlie Morgan running a little bit wide there, and it's now actually Alfie Bevan that's starting to charge up behind Patrick Den. Charlie Morgan struggling because they didn't change any of their tyres through the pit sequence. They're still running the same wet tyres that they started the race on. Patrick Den here did change did change a couple of tyres perhaps, maybe not all 4 of them, so has slightly better tyres, isn't struggling as much, but you can see the slick tyres starting to come into their own, and that's allowing Alfie Bevan to start attacking. We have a couple of people coming through pit lane. Tom Watson is coming through pit lane, so I wonder if they're just starting to struggle a little too much on the wet tyres as the rain has stopped. Yeah, 13-second pit stop for Tom Watson. That indicates he's just changed tyres. And when we bring the timing tower up, it'll be interesting to see what tyres they have switched onto.
And I just want to say as well, you can see it like visually lap on lap. You can see Alfie's probably gaining some confidence from this as well. That drier line, it's not as small as it was. It is starting to eke out. It is starting to get bigger, therefore allowing Alfie to just gain that little bit more confidence. He can push the car a little bit wider out of corners. He can go a little bit more offline and not have to worry about that little wet part of the circuit. It's just bringing his tyres in now. It's bringing up his confidence, and obviously it's putting him right onto the rear now of Patrick Den. He has to look to the inside, but this is where the issue lies with the slick tyre as things currently stand. He has to go off of line to try and overtake the Mustang, whereas the Mustang can drive particularly wherever it wants to because it has that wet weather tyre on. So this is where it kind of the challenge comes in. It probably pace-wise, it has teetered towards the slick maybe a little bit now, but it's not it's not going to be a particularly handy overtaking tyre as we see Tom Watson go off the circuit there. So Aduza Carpenter goes up into the lead of the amateur class, and Tom Watson slips down to second now. So, and that's a car off as well. Oh no, is it Ben Brown?
It is indeed. Driver who has had podium pace in all 3 rounds of the season so far. And another mistake that will drop them down the order. They fall down to P8 now in the field. There's still 8 minutes, just under now, for them to try and catch up. We'll see if they can make any progress as Alfie Bevan is drawing alongside Patrick Den here into Sunset Corner. The Mustang trying to hang it around the outside, doesn't have to be as worried about the wet patches as they're still on the wet tyres, but will not be helping them as they run wide through the corner, and Alfie Bevan gets the move done up to P4. Unfortunately for them, it's 11 seconds up to Martin Thorpe in front, though Martin, I think, is on old tyres from the start of the race. He may be starting to struggle as we see a car there running a bit widey, and that's Tom Watson still struggling. A late switch to the medium tyre. They came out of the pits in front of Adusa Carpenter, but getting the temperature into the tyres, they have fallen now 8 seconds behind the Mustang driver. Even with new tyres, it's going to be very difficult to make that time up through the remainder of the race.
Yeah, especially just it hasn't gone through that pain part of the session where everyone else warms their tyres up. Even though the track is dry now, obviously still proving tricky to get the temperature in those tyres, and now the gap just teetering over to nearly 9 seconds there as well for Tom Watson. So maybe this late change might have not been as worth it as they would have thought as they now make their way through Sunset. Looking a little bit more comfortable now as the tyres are probably coming in at this point in the session. But yeah, as you say, only 6 minutes to go. It's really going to require something special to try and get something out of this. So as he comes across the start-finish line now, there's a Lexus running up behind them. I don't think that's a car of threat though, so that's okay as we come to Lorne Martin and Alex Parkin currently fighting for position. This is for 15th as Parkin all runs a little bit wide there, but is able to get the car back into the apex of the corner as they will make their way onto the start-finish straight. Parkin a little bit too far back this time though to try and find their way past Lorne Martin as they will cross the line and make their way through turn 1.
Yeah, Alex Parkin can see in the bottom left. Very long pit lane,
Ooh.
but runs wide does Lauren Martin. And that gives Alex Parkin 15th place. A nice, easy position for them. McLaren driver struggling through T1. But yeah, just want to mention, very long pit stop here for Alex Parkin. 2 minutes, 2 seconds, as you can see in the bottom left. Maybe having to repair a bit of damage has dropped them back outside of the top 15. They've just got themselves back in there. They will try and close up any more positions they can. Interestingly, in front of them is Brian James Anderson, who is about 6 seconds up the road, as we currently have a car stopped by the main pit entry. It is Gomez Brea, who's going slowly with issues.
Yeah, Javier Gomez Biera here, currently slowing down. Norm Martin's gone past, so that drops him down to 16th position. So very odd though, because it looks like they're running okay. Maybe a little bit of a mistake, maybe a little bit of spin, lost the momentum potentially. We'll have a look. We'll go to a replay now. So this is what's happened to Javier. Comes into turn, well, sunset, and we'll turn the car into the corner, gets it out of the corner onto the straight, and oh yeah, spun it around. Oh, it's gonna go, are they gonna go into the wall? They're gonna get the car stops. No, donk into the concrete metal guardrails there, and will get the car back onto the circuit. But obviously that's what's caused that issue. Luckily, it didn't seem to be struggling too much from what we could see visually. The car seemed to be okay when we saw it from live photos, was able to turn into the corner okay, and still sitting in 16th position, about 3.2 seconds back, but that's quite annoying. Lost him a handful of positions coming out the final corner. But something actually I want to turn our attention to is Craig Foreman is currently leading in the AMS class in 7th position. I kind of missed that earlier. And that'll be their 6th win on Sim Racing GP and their 99th start on the platform. So a good result, as long as actually no, 2nd, because Charlie Morgan's gone ahead now. I've just realised as well. So Morgan leading the AMS. Sorry, I've just realised Morgan ahead, Foreman in 2nd now. And it also means that it's the next car in that order is Carpenter down in 11th, his 3rd in that class now. So yeah, Morgan going for 3 wins out of 3 in the amateur class. And Foreman not too close either as well, with 2 minutes and 28 seconds to go in this race. So Chime Morgan's done a good job. Actually, Chime could take that back now because she just drove off the circuit when I said it. But yeah, Charlie still leads the way in the amateur standings. Foreman's the car in 2nd, and Carpenter in 3rd in the amateur class. Whereas and Zach Silver, Townsend sneaks it up the inside. Silver can't really come back, is struggling for grip on the outside line, and Townsend is going to go through. There's a lamp.
Yeah, that's Simon Harris that was stopped there. I will say some drivers are quite close on virtual energy, most notably AMS leader Charlie Morgan, who is short to making it to the end of the race. They're going to need to do some saving. Luckily for them, Craig Foreman, the driver behind them, is 24 seconds back and does have the leader between the two of them, so does have plenty of time to save that fuel. Doesn't have to, as long as they don't get lapped, they can take the final lap as slowly as they like, as Craig Foreman has been lapped. We also have Alex Parkin closing up on Brian James Anderson. Let's just have a look at the last lap time. 2 seconds quicker for Alex Parkin over their fellow BMW driver. As they come across the line. That time it was 1.3 seconds quicker. But time is running out. The leaders can see by the diamond on the track map just in front of them. So they might have one more lap, but annoyingly, I think that's Ben Brown getting in between the two of them as they come through to that. But might present Alex Parkin an opportunity here. causes Brian James Anderson to run out wide. Alex Parkin gets to the inside. They'll be side by side into the right-hander here, and with the inside on the dry racing line, Alex Parkin will get the move done up to 13th place, and in the background, Lauren Martin following through, as meanwhile going through pit lane, they're not making it to the end of the race. We mentioned Charlie Morgan being tight on energy, and it was too tight through the pit lane, and I'm going to say very awkwardly for them, because they've gone through pit lane, they've put themselves a lap down, and having that one less lap to finish, they probably would have been fine to make it to the end of the race. However, if you were paying close attention to the top left of the screen, you will have noticed he has picked up a penalty in pit lane. He will that will probably get converted to a time penalty for the end of the race, and actually just as time runs out, James Kiley will cross the line to take the victory for this evening, making it 3 for 3 for James Kiley. Athol Basker will take second place. Charlie Morgan will finish a lap down, and with the time penalty will drop further down the order. Alfie Bevan, leading most of this race, took a bold strategy call, putting the medium tyres on in the pit stop. It did not work out. They didn't even finish on the podium. Adusa Carpenter will finish 10th place, second in the AMS class, I believe, after Charlie Morgan's mistake, just being too tight on fuel and then messing up the pit entry. And that is nearly all of our drivers across the line. Disappointing day for Chris Downing, down in 20th position. And yeah, that is... yeah, that is the end of our race.
I was going to mention as well, Charlie Morgan actually falls off the podium in the AMS class. Watson will come third in that class now. And Carpenter moves up to second position in the AMS as well. So there is your final order.
James Kiley making it 3 for 3 this series so far. It didn't seem likely in the first race. They seemed to be beaten, but the strategy went their way, and they will take their victory. Athol Basker will take a second place, and Martin Thorpe will take the final podium position. Having started outside of the top 10, that's a really good result there for Martin Thorpe. From pole position, the medium strategy call at the midway pit stop was not the right decision. Alfie Bevan falling to 4th place. Patrick Den with a good strategy call made a mistake, put themselves into the wall at turn 2, gathered themselves back up to P5, though may have a penalty looming over them for an instant with Matt Townsend. Craig Foreman will win the AMS class, a lap down, everyone but the top 5 being lapped with the strategy decisions. Craig Foreman, good race from them, being 15th on the grid. So yeah, great solidifies. Great strategy call there, and a great drive from Craig Foreman to take P6. Ben Brown, a mistake costing them a few positions. They were fighting for the podium place with Athol Basker, but another one of those two choose the medium tyre, it dropped them down the order, and a mistake made things even worse. Matt Townsend, as mentioned, with that incident with Patrick Den, would finish in P8. Zach Silver would take P9, and Adusa Carpenter rounds out our top 10. In P11 is Tom Watson taking the final podium position in the AMS class, making 2 pit stops this race, changing from the wets to the mediums sort of with only a quarter of the race to go. Doesn't seem like a strategy worked out for them. But we'd get lucky enough to be on the podium after Charlie Morgan pitting on their final lap of the race because they pitted. They needed to save fuel, and ultimately saying in the chat that the game told them to pit and they listened to it. Lesson learned: do your own strategy. Sometimes you're a bit more clever than the game, and then a mistake in pit entry getting Charlie Morgan an extra penalty, dropping them to 12th position. Alex Parkin with a long pit stop would be 2 laps down and would recover to 13th position, finishing ahead of Brian James Anderson, who would hold off Lauren Martin in the final set and at the end to take 15th place. Gomez Bray, after a late mistake at Sunset Corner, would finish down in 16th place, with Ewan Westbrook in 17th. Tyler Hammer, losing their rear wing earlier on in the race, would be down in 18th, as well as Ron Arbitolson who would finish in 19th position. Chris Downing really struggling in the first half of the race. We didn't see what happened to them to cause them to drop to 20th place, but yeah, very difficult race for them and one that they will want to forget. Onaker will finish in 21st with Gangeiser in 22nd, and not finishing this race we have Simon Harris, Anton Temenga, Burek, Jimmy Mungate, and Daniel Chavez. A very difficult race then at Sebring, but a very interesting one when it came to strategy. What did you make of the race, Tom?
Yeah, no, it was an interesting one to watch. I think the strategy really brought it to life in the end there, because you could see just from the amount of split strategies there, no one really knew what to do in that one. We had a couple of drivers on the mediums, like, as we've said, we had a couple of drivers going for not changing their tires. Then we had drivers going on to new wets. And it, in the end, ultimately, I don't know which strategy won, to be honest. It seemed like Alfie's tires turned on in near the end of the race there, but ultimately, as I was saying, to make the positions back up that he'd lost, he would have had to have gone offline onto that wet part of the circuit. And ultimately, those slicks definitely wouldn't have liked that. So I think that's really where the slick strategy fell apart in the end. But yeah, there's some really great racing. Unfortunate for Charlie Morgan, and in the end, because that would have been 3 wins from 3 in the amateur class if he was able to hold on. But in the end, wasn't to be. But as well, though, you can look at James Cowley, who at the front of his field has now won 3 from 3 in the pro standings. So yeah, an interesting race, some classy driving as well, and yeah, bring on the next round.
Yeah, it was very interesting to see the differences in strategy. But yeah, it was very difficult to tell which way to go. Some of the drivers mentioning how the track was drying out slower than they expected, and I must agree with them. Sometimes it feels like LMU, the track can dry up very quickly, and as soon as you get that sort of switch to a damp track, which is about 5% wetness, the medium tire really comes into it. But here it just seemed like the track really slow to dry up, and yeah, meant that different decision. And then the split, even those that took wet tires for the second half, did you take a new set of wets or an old set of wets? It's hard to say, to look through all 27 drivers, to figure out, who did what strategy, and then figure out, right, where were they before the pit stop? Where did they end up if it worked out beneficially? It is such a tough one to call. It was so close between all of them. But yeah, it made for a very interesting race. You didn't know who was going to end up where. For some drivers that got strategy wrong, they'll be hoping that this is their drop round. Of course, for someone like Ben Brown, who's had a sort of tough run of results, good pace, but not capitalizing on it with the results. Yeah, it wasn't a great day to get the strategy wrong. I believe we can get an updated look at the standings. We can indeed. Remember, one drop round is already considered in these, and with James Cowley winning every race so far, they lead the way. 166 points. Chris Downing with the drop round holds on second place, and Anton Temenga holds on to third. Both of them had difficult results today. Martin Thorpe is up into P4. Patrick Den holding on to fifth, just 2 points ahead of Matt Townsend, who, remember, they had a little tangle with. Ben Brown's difficulties dropped them down to P7, with Charlie Morgan, Zach Silver tied on points now, 99 points in P8. Tyler Hammer, Craig Foreman also tied in P10, 93 points. Tom Watson in 12th. Adrian Carpenter in 13th, with Ron Arbutolson in 14th. Christian Kasich, who has missed a couple of rounds so far this season, is down in 15th. They'll be looking for a strong second half of the season to see how far up the leaderboard they can get. And they're currently tied with Alex Parkin and Athel Basker, all in 15th place. Ralph Vest, who had to miss today, and did actually subscribe to the channel earlier, so thank you, Ralph, for the support. Said that they had to miss as they were travelling for work and just got home today. They're in 18th place now, tied with Alfie Bevan after that sort of mishap on the strategy. Both of them will be hoping for a good second half of the season to get up leaderboard. Gomez is in 20th, Simon Harris 21st. Yaroshenko, who we didn't see today, Yaroshenko, Nick Manders, and Johnny Ashley, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, respectively. All drivers we didn't see today. So, what does that mean in the classes? Well, of course, James Kyley still leads the way in the pro standings, standing to make around out top 380s, pretty much as it was in the overall. Christian Kiesig is in 8th. With tied with Athel Basker, Zach Silver and Alfie Bevan down in 10th position, Tyler Hammer in P12. In the AM standings, Charlie Morgan, after today's result, does not hold the maximum points. Of course, fastest lap points, which are a part of the series. So it is, let me just double check. Yes, it is 5 points awarded for getting fastest lap for the racing. As you can see, Charlie Morgan is missing 5 points compared to James Cowley. So yeah, that has allowed Craig Foreman to just close up a little bit, only 16 points back after a great result this round at Sebring. Adisa Carpenter will get P3, just 1 point ahead of both Tom Watson and Ronald Tolson, who are currently tied for P4, with Ralph Vest in P6. Alex Parkin in 7th place ahead of Simon Harrison Gomez, who are tied in P8. Dave Selecki, Onacker, and Westbrook are the 10th, 11th, and 12th, respectively. So drivers at the front of the standings starting to pull away a little bit, but as we've seen today, they are not invincible. James Cowley was not the quickest today. Charlie Morgan making mistakes that have allowed others to close back up. And we continue again next week, where we'll be heading to Qatar to start the second half of the season. A high tire wear track, especially when it comes to the front left tire. Another one that will be interesting to see what strategies everyone plays out. And that is before we go to Code National, another very high tire wear circuit, and then Spa-Francorchamps standout season. Tom, as it's the first week that we've had you here for the season, which of the tracks are you looking forward to most, or do you think you missed out on earlier on in the season?
I'm probably looking forward the most. Looking at it, it's probably Spa. To be honest, Spa is such a lovely circuit. Just to drive, visually to look at as well. Such a nice venue as well, and it's a really fast flowing circuit. And I think for anyone that enjoys racing, it is one of the better circuits on any racing game, just because what it can offer in terms of racing and in terms of experience as you drive it. So I think that's one I'm probably looking forward to the most. And yeah, but I think Qatar next week will be really enjoyable as well. I'll be honest, not a big fan of Kota, but it does normally bring good racing, like just to watch anyway. So yeah, I'm up for this.
Yep, it should be a good season to come. We've seen how interesting the strategy can be with rain in the mix. We've also seen 2 rounds so far. There can be differences in strategy, so expect some tough strategy calls for the second half of the season to continue. Certainly looking forward to that. But of course, there is more racing than just Sundays here at oNiD. Continuing tomorrow, we start with the second half of Season 5, the multi-class series with hypercars and the lesser seen GTE cars continues tomorrow. They will be heading to, just give me a little second to see, they're heading to Imola this week for a 65-minute race. It's interesting to see how those strategies or those classes mix. Sorry. So yeah, make sure you tune in tomorrow to see how they fare across the 2 classes. On Tuesday, we have our IndyCar Championship continuing on the original Assetto Corsa. We are going to the 1 oval round we have for the season at Phoenix. Expect a lot of chaos. See who can come out. Again, strategy calls being key in the IndyCar series. It has been a lot of fun so far, so make sure you tune in on Tuesday for the 4th round there at Phoenix. On Wednesday, we have our Sim Hound Academy for lesser experienced, more rookie-orientated drivers. They will also be heading to Imola. So make sure you join and see how they fare for their own 50-minute race. They'll need to make sure they're work out a bit of fuel. Fuel saving is always needed at Imola, as we've seen earlier this season in the Weekender series. So yeah, it'll be a little test of their strategy and fuel saving abilities to make sure they don't need to make an unnecessary pit stop. And then on Thursday, we have our iRacing installment. The Super Formula Lights continue after an eventful round at Mugello earlier this week. They'll be heading to Montreal, track we don't get to see too much in oNiD, but one I'm very much looking forward to. A couple of straights there where slipstreaming will be quite powerful. Certainly plenty of opportunities for overtaking. It should be an eventful one as we start the second half of the season before me and Tom return next Sunday for Qatar in the Weekender series. But that is just about it for us today. Before we go, Tom, any final words?
No, just looking forward to next week, and what a great strategic race that was.
Great strategy indeed, and plenty of great strategy to come over the rest of the season. Once again, thank you all very much for joining us. Thank you to those that were subscribing throughout stream, such as Ben Myatt, one of our lovely admins and executives, as well as Ralph Vest, who unfortunately did have a miss today. Thank you very much, and also those that followed. Hopefully, we will see you throughout the week in our other series. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a good start to your week, and we will see you next time. Take care. Good night.
Bye bye.